Thank you very much for coming back to the Voice of Job Seekers podcast. If you want to know more about me and the show, you can go to voiceofjobseekers.com. You can also participate in the show and shape the content for later on. If you want to leave a comment, you can go to the right side where there's a speak pipe button. You press it, it's in red, and you can just speak your mind, ask a question, and if it's intelligible, I'll put it on the show. In the meantime, I want to introduce you to Stacey Hawley. Stacey Hawley is a salary and compensation expert and career advisor, outplacement and transition specialist. She writes for job-hunt.org, one of the few experts I'll have on from that particular site who write for that site on a regular basis. And she also has her own blog, which I believe is risetothetop.blogspot.com. Did I get that right, Stacey?
You did. Rise is spelled with a Z.
Yeah, Rise, R-I-Z, Rise. Very good. How are you, Stacey?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on, Mark.
Well, it's an honor to have you. I was really impressed with a lot of the information that you've had on your blogs and your articles. I want to kind of talk about some of those today as it relates to a lot of my audience, and I also want to be sure that people understand your perspective. I don't think it's any more unique, although there's always unique takes when we talk about salary negotiation. So let's get it started. We've had a few salary negotiation specialists and experts, including staff from PayScale. We've had Katie Donovan, who's a nationally recognized expert, and we've also had Kwame Christian, who has built quite a following with a lot of his techniques, and I want to definitely get you amongst those names to be on the show. Trends are always happening in the career space and negotiation and compensation, of course. Is there a difference between maybe some of the trends that you've seen and experienced and maybe what you're giving your clients from, let's say, 2015 to now?
I think that's a great question. It's an interesting one because there's sort of overall industry trends, and then there's trends that are by company, by industry, and by level of growth. Right? From a startup versus a mature company. They can't all play in the same space or offer the same things in terms of compensation.
Right.
So in terms of overall trends, what I would say I have seen is that offers are more fair. In other words, I'm seeing less where, for the most part, companies trying to, let's call it lowball something. I'm seeing a lot of really fair, competitive offers. And that includes, when I say offer, I'm including everything from base salary to bonuses, to equity, to benefits, vacation, everything people might think about in terms of an offer.
Okay.
So because it's a tighter job market, the offers are more fair. Then there might be some variation based on the actual stage of growth and what a company can do and the marketplace. I have a lot of clients in the San Francisco area. Their offers are very, very consistent. It's really tight. It's very competitive marketplace. You won't find a lot of differentiation as much as you might find in another marketplace. So it'll vary. And I think I should just do a quick 2-second background and say that I have worked as a compensation consultant for 20 years. So in addition to working with individuals, I work with companies and I design their compensation programs from start to finish in terms of what they offer employees up through executives and board members. And I've done it for Fortune 10s to startups. And so that's how I know so much about compensation and how companies approach it and how I help my clients when it comes to how to address compensation.
Okay, so your expertise basically would cover all levels, not just executive levels.
Correct.
Okay, because for some reason I have a lot of executive coaches and resume writers and experts that come on the show. And
I mean, I do focus a lot on the more senior levels
uh-huh.
because I know so much about how to value options, whether they should be. I know a lot about relocation, what's competitive, what should be offered, what isn't considered competitive in terms of things like restrictive clauses, all the nuances that executives will get
Yeah.
versus other employees. But I work with everyone.
Okay. So, um, fairly to say, then, perhaps the fairer compensation um, offers are coming more on the executive side, higher management side.
I think it really does depend on the labor market that company is operating in and that employee where that employee is, because in from a compensation standpoint, in a lot of markets, for an example, an accountant, let's use that as an example, that job really is what it is. That's what it's worth. It's not going
Mm-hmm.
to have a huge range of pay,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's at a small company or a big company.
Okay.
But executive level, their pay is very much driven by industry and revenue size.
Mm-hmm.
So their pay will have some more variability in it.
Okay. All right. So everybody in the mid career or even the mid managed level, um, still, I'm seeing that they're still, playing the game of chicken, in the sense of getting an offer, or better yet, sometimes even being screened for the offer first, rather than having it posted on have it posted on the job description. And if somebody should do research first, then there are people who are walking away even from the first phone call, in a sense of getting an offer that's completely ridiculous at times. And I'm finding that in the mid career levels. Is that some of your experience as well?
It is. I completely agree. And what I'm seeing some is, and I will call that kind of situation I find is happening from companies slash HR departments that have a lot less experience
Mm-hmm.
because they're just trying to see how much they can get from a skills perspective for what they're willing to pay.
Yeah.
Right? They want everything, right? I want everything, but I don't want to pay for it. I want you to have 10 years experience, but I want to pay like you have zero.
Yeah.
So I find that is happening when the HR department, the company doesn't have a lot of experience in terms of the system, the process, the marketplace, the offers, and things like that. And it's a double-edged sword because I do tell people, do you want to waste your time going after a role that you would never accept because it's $30,000-$40,000 less than what you're making or want to make for that position or what you think is fair? So to me, I think it's worth having that compensation conversation right up front, and don't waste your time.
Okay. So in your mind, for most of us, we tend to, those of us who consult and coach, we said, don't talk about compensation first. and I think part of that might be from being shell shocked before, right? I mean,
Oh, absolutely. And we're also being given a narrative, a very strong narrative of don't answer the question. You get the company to say it first, and you kind of play that chicken and egg game for a long time.
yeah,
But what I advise a lot of my clients to do is actually not give an exact number, but say, look, I'm willing to, based on what I know of this role at this point in time, prior to interviews, I think the role is worth X. And I say X to Y, and I say include base and bonus. Make it a range. Don't narrow yourself or pigeonhole yourself into one number.
right.
But then you can say, however, after we interview and if we're both in agreement and we're excited about working together, I would be definitely interested in having a more detailed conversation once we both know more.
Do you believe that having an open, universal conversation about about salary, having it in the open, discussing it in the open, even if it's just within your network, would be helpful for people overall if they kind of knew what each other made and what the market value is. Because I've had several discussions like that. Usually 9 out of 10 people said, yeah, let's do it. And there's that one person says, no, I don't want that. And some of it I could understand, but there's other parts of it I could definitely see the value in it.
I love that question. I think it's very interesting, and I think it's dependent on the company. It depends on whether the company can handle it. That's their culture.
Mm-hmm.
Employees can talk about it if the people managers are well trained in discussing compensation and how the company approaches compensation and how come there are variances and differences. But if the people managers are not able to have those conversations, then it's much harder for it to be an open culture and have everybody know what everybody makes.
Well, within your network, in having those discussions, especially if you're talking to someone you know that works for the competition, that would be a point for the professional that's seeking out, right?
So I'm talking to a peer of mine, and my peer works somewhere else.
Yes.
And I know,
You,
market data.
yeah. If you work for IBM and they're interested in, they're talking to Google, more or less. I mean, you're comparing apples to apples in that sense.
And that's the exact point.
Yeah. But it wouldn't be worth it if you're changing industries unless you are privy to have people in the network and you're trying to emulate some of their career paths, or maybe you have some of the same trinkets and accolades and results that they would have, but just in a different industry.
And that's the nuance, as you mentioned, because I want to compare myself to my friend, but my friend works at a huge multinational conglomerate, and I work for a nonprofit. And those are apples and oranges.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right?
Nonprofits would be.
Don't always. Okay, so that's the extreme example.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's a lot more closer examples that people think are the same, but they're not.
Yeah.
Or, they're in charge of this group and so am I, but hey, but their group is 3 times the size.
Yeah.
Or it's multiple lines of business, or they have 20 direct reports, or whatever the situation may be that people don't take into account. So it's helpful to keep in the back of your mind. Don't use that as a framework, maybe as a data point that you keep, but maybe not have it be the end all be all.
Mm-hmm. So let's see. You've written some articles about being fired and being able to, negotiate.
Mm-hmm.
Most people pass on it because they feel that they don't have the right to, or that a lot of it is because the confidence has been shattered. I've written an article recently on pay scale. I don't know if you got a chance to see it or not, but that the narrative has changed over the past few years. That there's several things that people can do that they think they couldn't do in the past. Like I don't have a job now, but yet you should be able to. You should be able to still negotiate your compensation because it's the worth of the job if you're looking at it from that part. The other part is that I was laid off. I was terminated, or I was laid off from an industry that's supposed to have been waning, but there are still some jobs that still have a lot of value within that industry that I can qualify for, but I may not make it, so people get gun shy. So there's a lot of different scenarios along those lines. So I want to get your take on some of those scenarios. If somebody's been terminated, can they still negotiate in a way that could be equitable?
Oh, absolutely. So you pointed out, and you've raised a lot of the key points, that the job is still the job. It's worth what it's worth. So really what it comes down to is the internalization of the person that's been terminated.
Mm-hmm.
Where is their confidence level? And a little bit it's generational. It used to be, way back,
mm-hmm.
15, 20 years ago, we didn't switch jobs. We didn't go from job to job. We stayed with companies for a very long time, and switching was very atypical.
Mm-hmm.
It also was not as much spoken about, or there wasn't social media about all the people that did lose their jobs. Now, that's just part and parcel for working,
Mm-hmm.
right? You get a job, a company may grow, and it may downsize, it may restructure, it may reorganize. It's not a dirty situation. It's not necessarily reflective of you
Right.
and your personal performance.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that's changed is we've had the millennials have completely changed the workforce culture. They have 5 jobs by the time they're 27, and now you don't have to be at the same company all the time. And it's okay to say, you know what, I'm taking 3 months off before I re-enter the workforce to sort of find myself. So all of these things are becoming more part of the norm in culture and in terms of compensation.
Mm-hmm.
But what I also say it's a little generational is that the older you were, that's where the stigma used to be.
Right.
And you would just want to take that first offer you could get. That also was because we used to have these things called retirement plans.
Right.
Those are all pretty much gone except if you're in the public sector.
Right.
And so retirement plans are what made executives more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just the value of the job from a base salary standpoint. It was that if you came in at 55, it cost me, the company, more to get you funded and ready for retirement in 10 years than if I had you from when you were 25 to 60.
Mm-hmm.
So now that's gone.
Yeah.
We just have base, we have bonus, and we have a lot of equity sometimes to make up for that. But the playing field is a lot more even. And so what I tell people is don't undervalue yourself. You know, companies want your experience, but they want that confidence is what sells.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter how qualified you are, but if you come in and you don't seem confident, you're going to be less appealing than the next candidate who has that mentality of being more confident, and I'm going to go after this and I'm going to get it. They have that cultural fit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I spend a lot of times working with people that have been let go, just getting them grounded first and
Mm-hmm.
recognizing that they have a lot to offer and to kind of shake off the experience of being let go and move forward and kind of think of that as when a door closes, 3 more can open.
Yeah, I think that I can see me having you back on the show in the spring to dig into more of that. There's so many jewels I can go down, but I want to keep this one short. Finally, I want to just hit you up on your latest article on jobhunt.org, where you talk about 5 steps to successful compensation negotiation. I don't want to go through all that. I'm going to have that link in the show to that particular article. But I think you said something in one of the points where you said, don't negotiate, discuss. In essence, have a business conversation. And it doesn't have to be this, now we're going to negotiate kind of thing. It's not a parade. It's more or less of an ongoing conversation, even after you get hired, so to speak. Am I framing that in the right way?
Oh, you're absolutely correct, Mark. And I've had thousands of clients, and the ones that are really successful recognize that this is not like buying a car.
Right.
And you're not trying to get the best deal possible, and it's the last time you're ever going to have this discussion. You are developing a long-term relationship, hopefully, even if it's 3 or 4 years, with this employer.
Mm-hmm.
And first it's when you come on, but then it's how is my performance and how am I being reviewed? Am I getting a bonus? Am I getting another option or equity? Am I going to get promoted, and why? And so you're building a relationship. This is the foundation. This is stage 1. And the people that are really successful view it as a discussion. They do not view it as a negotiation.
Mm-hmm.
And the negotiation part is really what gets people all antsy and nervous about it. But if you take that away and you change your frame of mind and you look at it more like a discussion, you'll probably be more successful in getting what you're looking for. And it's a more positive experience, too.
Yeah. And it should be a skill that you're willing to hone throughout time. Not just for your sake, but also when companies see you negotiate like that, they think a little bit differently of you, especially when you have people you're directly reporting to or as part of that process, it becomes a different perspective entirely.
I love that, because they're looking at you just like you said and saying, okay, now how will Mark be when he's with his people?
Yeah.
And when he's talking to clients, this is how he's going to be.
Yes.
And you're sort of showcasing that as you talk about compensation.
Absolutely. Well, Stacey, if people want to know more about you and know more about what you do, how can they get a hold of you?
They can go to the blog, which you mentioned. They can also go to LinkedIn and find me there. Stacey Hawley, Hawley. I'd be happy to connect.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being on the show, and thank the rest of you for listening. Hopefully you've gotten a lot out of this. I know I have. In the meantime, we'll see you in a couple of weeks, and thank you so much for listening.